Hey guys, thank you for joining me this week with Goodness Chick. We're going to be addressing the topic of fear. Fear is a normal emotion that can either be positive or negative. When it's something that we possess that kind of keeps us from harm's way, totally awesome, keeps us safe. The focus that I'm going to hit on today is the fear that a lot of us possess that ends up kind of becoming an obstacle or a barrier for us in progression, in us growing. And it's this concern of something bad happening. It's this hesitation that keeps us from going forward. And fear is something I think a lot of us, all of us at some point struggle with, and it becomes a conscious decision whether do I allow fear to be something that I react to, or I allow myself to kind of take on an aspect of courage, and that's a conscious decision. And every single day we're faced with decisions that we have to make, whether that's on a professional level, that's personal, that's social, and we have to say, are we going to take that step of courage, or am I going to allow fear to kind of kick me in the butt and hold me down? And I think it's something that kind of makes my heart hurt, because it's every day, whether it's students I've worked with or personally, professionally, whatever it is, where I'm held back and kind of my hands are tied, and I've allowed them to be tied because fear is kind of conquering and winning and dictating how I live my life. And I think of certain individuals who failed a lot and continued going. And you think about those people, and where would they be if they stopped and they allowed a fear to get in their way? Throw at you Michael Jordan, who didn't make his high school basketball team, was cut. One of the best basketball players of all time. You have Thomas Edison, who was considered, shot down for a lot of his patents, to Albert Einstein on an academic level was considered, feedback from his teachers where he was somewhat mediocre, to all these people that were considered at the time and in the moment, you were a disappointment, you were a failure, but they kept going and they kept going. So when I tell you, it's a decision that sometimes you have to make, that whether I'm going to allow fear to squish me, or if I'm in a situation, I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm still going to be afraid, but I'm going to go forward and do it. Whether it's speaking up in front of colleagues to something that you firmly believe in, and not worrying about kind of being ostracized or not assimilating properly, whatever the heck it is, or it's the fear of failure, the desire to, I want to change careers, but what about A, B, C, D, E, F, G? And not doing it because I'm scared. And there's absolutely a level of being responsible and rational with all of our thinkings, but every single day we have certain choices that have an absolute ripple effect in terms of, do we hold back or do we go forward? And I'm going to kind of throw two different strategies that I firmly believe in, and how do you tackle fear? One of which is, the first is what we tell ourselves, okay? I can't do it. That I cannot do it. Dude, you've signed, sealed, delivered. You can't do it. I'm going into this situation, or I'm going into A, B, C, or D. I can't do it. When you start out negative, man, you're setting yourself up for negative. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay when you're in a situation that you realize that I withhold myself and my ability from overcoming these obstacles just because I'm afraid. I'm going to give you an example. When I was a senior in college, I made the decision, I will say this, scared to death, to go to Europe and spend a good amount of time working and living over there. It was something I felt that I needed to do at the time. And when I tell you, if I held back on doing that, from relationships I had and experiences culturally, it opened my mind and changed my life in more ways than I can ever explain. And was I comfortable the whole time that I was there? Absolutely not. But here's the deal, that we kind of fall into this pattern of being comfortable, and be uncomfortable. Allow yourself to stare your fears in the face, and even if it's not squishing them, being uncomfortable. And when I tell you, it is one of the biggest character building tools that you can ever face and deal with as an adult and our kids, it is awesomeness. And so I challenge you to get your fear on, first starting with giving yourself not sticking with negatives in terms of I can, and I won't, and I don't, whatever the heck it is, kicking it out of the way and replacing it with a positive. I may not succeed on the first time, but the second time or the third time or the 22nd time, and persevering, man. Because all of us are going to fail and we are going to stumble, but it's about how we get back up again. The last one I'll leave you with, the second one, is goals to overcome. Have goals. What do I want to get? If we just kind of keep it in our head, that's all it goes. That's all it stays there. It's self-contained, and then it's something we just talk about and we never, ever do. So many people talk about doing things and very few do them. So you want to rock out fear, allow some personal growth to happen, and your perception of things around you. Start with some positives, and secondly, rocking out some goals. And I say, fear is a factor with a lot of us, and how we end up dealing with it is a decision that we have to make. Whether we choose to succumb to it or to go forward, it's a decision. So I encourage you to hop on goodnesscheck.com. If you haven't already, check out Goodness Chick Facebook page, where I do daily updates and a whole lot of different articles and information just to kind of rock things out. Wishing you a week of peace, love, and goodness. Have a good one.